Hello everyone, welcome to Legacy Age Academy. In this video, we will be discussing the ethics paper of 2022 mains. Okay, this is GS paper 4, ethics paper of 2022 mains. See, before starting, I'll just give you an overall idea about how the paper was. See, this year, the ethics paper is said to be very lengthy. See, we found it very difficult to solve this paper or go through this paper outside the exam hall. But we can imagine how the students would have felt when they're inside the exam hall. Okay, when they're looking at that particular pressurized situation, then seems this paper seems very lengthy. Okay, so for the people who are writing for 2023, who are appearing for 2023 prelims and mains, one thing that you can learn from this year's paper is that make sure like 1 or 1.5 months before mains, you are actually writing 3 hours ethics answers. Okay, even if you are not able to write the 3 hour paper with respect to GS 1 2 3, please make sure that with respect to ethics you have this practice beforehand, or else it becomes really difficult in the exam hall to cope up with time. With this, let's start. The first question: wisdom lies in knowing what to reckon with and what to overlook. Okay, two important keywords in the first statement: what to reckon and what to overlook. Okay, after this question, you will understand how the vocabulary, how much the vocabulary is important with respect to ethics. I always tell you that English grammar vocabulary is very important to write very good ethics answers. And in this question, we will understand how much is it required to get to know the vocabulary and the meaning of words. See, imagine if you don't know the meaning of the word recon, there is no way whether you can answer this question. And there is one more word in the same question, I'll let you know, and just keep an eye on this. An officer being engrossed with the periphery, ignoring the core issues before him, is no rare in the bureaucracy. Do you agree that such preoccupation of an administrator leads to travesty of justice? One more. Okay, you have two words. One is recon and the travesty of justice. To the cause of effective service delivery and good governance, critically evaluate. This is why I told you that the paper was very lengthy. Unlike the previous year's paper, this question paper has a lot of paragraph questions where it will require you to go through the entire question and then think about the answer. Okay, this is the question, like in a crux, this question is asking, there are two types of civil servants in India. One are the people who look at the core issues, and the one are the people who just worry about the peripheral issues. Do you think, do you think such civil servants who just look at the periphery of the issue, are these people are creating travesty of justice, which means they're creating gap in the justice to the cause of effective service delivery, which means people who just look at the periphery of the issue, they don't contribute to the service delivery or good governance. What do you think about this? Critically evaluate. This is the first question. Okay, in the first question itself, we have two keywords. One is recon, the other one is travesty, because of which this will sound like a bouncer. Let's now see how to answer this question and what are the keywords and what are the examples that you can quote. First one, as the question is starting with the keyword wisdom, here in the introduction, it is good to define wisdom. How do you define wisdom? Wisdom is the ability to make sensible decisions and judgments and prioritize them because of the knowledge or experience. Okay, this is the definition of wisdom. Preoccupation on the peripheral issues is injustice to the desired goals of governance. Okay, in the examples you will understand what do you mean by the core issue and what is the peripheral issue. You can see good governance and prioritizing the matters is very crucial for service delivery when we talk about bureaucracy. For example, let's take the example of Naxalism. Okay, for example, if there is a Naxal affected district, in that particular Naxal affected district, the polity is affected, which means the administration is affected. Okay, the healthcare system is affected. At the same time, the education is also not proper. As a good civil servant, the core of the issue should be addressed, which means all these issues have arisen because of Naxalism. So Naxalism becomes the core issue and not solving the effects. Get to the root cause of the problem is what the question is asking you for. Any civil servant for that matter has to get to the root cause of the problem and do not only cater to the effects of that problem. Second one, if we talk about when a police personnel, they prioritize the petty cases over heinous crime of murder, sexual assault, okay, professional misconduct. Such heinous crimes should be dealt in a more serious way compared to the petty crimes or the property dispute for that matter. So this is the core of the first question, and this is how you will have to break down the question into important aspects and answer them. Let's see the next question. 1b. Apart from intellectual competency and moral qualities, empathy and compassion, underline these two keywords, empathy and compassion, are some of the other vital attributes that facilitate the civil servant to be more competent in tackling the crucial issues or tackling critical decisions. Explain with suitable illustrations. One more example to prove that the paper was very lengthy. Okay, it's a paragraph question. This question says, apart from intellectual competency, you also need empathy and compassion. As the question talks about intellectual competency and empathy and compassion, we will have to define what intellectual competency means. That is what we have defined here. What is empathy and what is compassion? Okay, in a very lucid way, you will have to give example and explain or define what is empathy and what is compassion. How is empathy different from compassion? Okay, in ethics, you will be studying three important keywords, that is sympathy, empathy, and compassion. And you will know that empathy in action is called compassion. Okay, empathy in action is called compassion. For example, whenever you see a person who has met with an accident, who is lying on the road, okay, you take him or take her and you go to the hospital and make sure that the person gets the required medical help. That is compassion. Okay, so empathy in action is compassion are the two vital attributes of a civil servant. Okay, civil servant need not just be obedient to the rules, he should also be empathetic towards the problems, and he should be very, very compassionate. This is something that we will study in the chapter called as value system or the values in ethics. Compassion can provide us with more public centric policies. For example, when a civil servant is dealing with the vulnerable sections of the society, that is SC, scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, or the women or children or differently abled people. Okay, when the civil servant is on his daily routine, he is dealing with such people. Empathy and compassion are the two important qualities that he will have to possess in order to make sure that the service delivery is efficient. Example. Okay, see, examples plays a very crucial role with respect to ethics. You can give the example of a former health minister of Kerala, KK Shailaja, and this particular politician made news because she acted in a very, very proactive manner during the COVID-19 pandemic. We all can recall that Kerala was the first state where the COVID-19 was detected in India, and she played a very crucial role in strengthening the community health centers and the primary health centers in Kerala. So she was the one who is, this case study can be a very good example when we talk about empathy and compassion. The next question. The rules and regulations provided to all the civil servants are same, yet there is difference in the performance. Positive-minded officers are able to interpret the rules and regulations in favor of the case and achieve success, whereas negative-minded officers are unable to achieve the goals by interpreting the same rules and regulations against the case. Discuss with illustrations. A very practical question. Okay, this is a question that will test the concept with respect to attitudes. Okay, so this is why in the introduction, first thing that you have to do is define attitudes. How do you define attitudes? Attitudes are the learned predispositions that will make you to act in a favorable or an unfavorable manner with respect to an object, place, or a person. That's how you define attitudes, and then you move on. United Nations Development Program says ethical public officers, which means the bureaucrats who are equipped with ethical values, promote socio-economic development, and unethical behaviors threaten the development of the society or the community at large or the public institutions also. This is what the UNDP has to say. And this ethical public officers means the officers with positive attitude, and the unethical behaviors refer to the officers with negative attitude. Okay, being optimistic, being pessimistic. That's what the question is actually asking about. Example. Okay, when a person has been complying with rules, will that be enough, or a civil servant has to be more humane, more ethically oriented in order to solve the problems of the society? Denying the food grains in the ration shops. Okay, for example, imagine a civil servant who is denying the food grains in the ration shop for the vulnerable sections of the society, vulnerable sections, for example, women or differently enabled or senior citizens, just because the thumbprint is not connected to the database. Okay, they possess all the documents, including the ration card. Okay, including there are documents to prove that these people are the actual beneficiaries of this particular scheme. But still, just because the thumbprint, okay, is not linked to the database, if you deny the ration to this particular individual, then this becomes a very classic example, and this is something that keeps happening. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen how people have suffered with respect to the ration. Okay, so because of this problem, this is a very classic example where we can quote, as a civil servant, it is not only required to follow rules, at the same time, you need to also possess some of the ethical qualities like compassion, empathy, okay, and you should be in a position to sympathize people. Okay, you should be in a position to do it. That is what the question is asking about. The next question. It is believed that adherence to ethics in human actions would ensure in smooth functioning of the organization system. Again, a question on ethical values in the human actions. Okay, if you look at the previous year questions, you will know even in the ethics paper, UPSC is revolving around the same kind of questions: attitudes, human values, essence of ethics, determinants of ethics, and ethics in public governance. Okay, these are some of the important areas that you will have to focus if you are preparing for 2023 exam. It is believed that adherence to the ethics in the human actions would ensure in smooth functioning of the organization or system. If so, what does the ethics seek to promote in human life? How does the ethical values assist in the resolution of the ethics conflicts faced by him in his day-to-day functioning? Okay, two important components in the question. For the first, in the introduction, it is good if you define ethics. Ethics is often called as the moral philosophy and represents the values and the customs of the society. You just define ethics in a very simple term, and then you can move ahead for the first and the second component of the question. Ethical values like transparency, responsibility, accountability, work commitment, devotion to duty, compassion, honesty and integrity, among others, these are some of the ethical qualities that a person has to possess, okay, in order to promote a orderly structure in the society and also make sure that his life moves in a very smooth way. Ethical values help in conflict resolution, which means ethical values will aid in the resolution of ethical dilemmas. Empathy and compassion, forgiveness, anger management, and persistence are some of the qualities that will help you to manage your conflicts. Okay, this is what, in brief, the question asks about. Third question. Ethics is knowing the difference between what you have the right to do and what is the right to do. Okay, very important and a very good question. Okay, in ethics. Ethics is the knowing the difference between what you have the right to do and what is right to do. See, this statement can you can attract a lot of examples to write this statement, because the example of freedom of speech and expression, okay, and also the conflict between vegetarians and non-vegetarians, this is something that we will come across in our everyday life. Okay, and we can use these examples in the ethics. That is the beauty of the ethics paper. In this question, we will have to define ethics in the introduction. Ethics is developed from an individual or a group's beliefs, values, and morals, which vary from person to person and can often be direct conflict and opposition to others. Okay, this is how we can define ethics in the introduction, and we can say that right to do. Okay, for the fundamental right, for example, if you take the example of right to freedom of speech and expression, also your right to express your emotions or your feelings should not hurt the sentiments of the others. That is what the subtle difference that this question is asking you to write on. And this question asks you, it is the difference between what you have the right to do and what is right to do. Okay, having the right to do is different from what is right to do is different. Okay, this is the subtle difference that you will have to come up with. For example, Article 19, if we consider, which guarantees the right or the freedom of speech and expression. Whatever we speak, just because we have the right to speak, okay, just you have the right to speak, whatever you speak should not violate the fundamental rights of the others, should not be wrong, or should not violate the fundamental rights of the other person. So that is what the Article 19, and that is what the ethics behind the fundamental rights and the righteousness is talking about. The second example, if you consider vegetarians and the non-vegetarians, in the constitution we have nothing called vegetarians and non-vegetarians, but still your right to have the non-vegetarian food should not affect the sentiments of the people who rely on vegetarian food. Simple as that. Okay, these are the two easy examples that you can come up with to answer the question. Next one, if a country is to be corruption free, if a country is to be corruption free, see again, this is a question that revolves around the governance in public life, corruption, and become a nation of beautiful minds, I strongly feel there are three key societal members who can make a difference. They are father, mother, and teacher. Okay, said by Abdul Kalam. Very important and a very good statement to make. See, here in the introduction, as the question is talking about corruption, you can define corruption. What is corruption? Corruption is a misuse and the abuse of power by people in positions of authority or government for personal benefit, or the monetary, or in the form of favor. Okay, this is the definition of corruption. And after you write the definition of corruption, you will have to differentiate, or you'll have to divide the answer into the contribution or the role of mother, role of father, and the role of teacher. What is the role of mother? See, that a child in the process of enculturation will spend a lot of time with mother. So mother is the one who can actually teach the child about empathy, about compassion, about service, okay, about gender neutrality. Okay, it is the role of family, that is father and the mother, that becomes really crucial with respect to enculturation. Okay, this is something that you can write. And teacher at the school from the primary level. Okay, it is the with the teacher that the child will have to spend a lot of time. So it's the role of mother and father at the house, and it is the role of teacher at the school that becomes very crucial in the process of enculturation, so that the child is equipped with the ethical values. Next question. Judge your success by what you had to give up in order to get it. Okay, said by the Dalai Lama. A very tricky statement, and most of the aspirants would have found it difficult to understand and comprehend this particular statement. It is very simple. See, in order to achieve anything in life, you will have to sacrifice something. And is the sacrifice that you do worth what you get? Very simple as that. I'll just give you an example, and this is a question that works about that talks about the work-life balance. Okay, work-life balance is something that is being the core issue of this particular question. Imagine life of a UPSC aspirant. We all know, like at the age of 22, 23, 24, we all start preparing for the exam, and we spend our most crucial youthful years in the preparation. Okay, when the entire world is busy with their life, we spend a lot of time on books, we spend a lot of time on tests, we spend a lot of time on getting our answers evaluated, and a lot of things related to the exam. So we spend a lot of our youthful years, like 23 to 26 or 27, this crucial 3 to 4 5 years we spend with studies. Okay, is it worth? You leave all your friends, you leave your family, you don't take part in the family gatherings, you don't take part in the reunions. Okay, so if you're a travel freak, but you don't prefer traveling, so this will be the life of a UPSC aspirant unless and until he clears the exam. After he clears the exam, he would get a lot of social responsibilities, status, dignity, respect. All this is a part of the service. So, is that effect of the clearing exam worth the sacrifice that you did? Okay, this is what is the simple in simple terms. This is what the question is demanding. The second one, a workaholic person. Let's imagine a situation where a person X, okay, he's recently married, person X, but he's very workaholic. Okay, he wants to get appraisal, he wants to get more salary, he wants to be portrayed as a very good person in the eyes of his manager. So he's working extra hard. If everybody are working for 8 hours, this person is working for 12 hours. And when he's working for 12 hours, as he's newly married and his wife also has some expectations, and he's not able to fulfill the expectations of his wife, he's not able to give her time, because of which he's frustrated and she files a divorce. 1 or 2 years down the line, this person X, now he is elevated to the position of the manager because he is performing really well at the workplace. But what happened to his personal life? Okay, so whatever his sacrifice was the sacrifice worth the result that he got? This is what the question revolves around. Judge your success by what you had to give up in order to get it. Okay, the next question. What do you understand by the term good governance? The question directly asks the question. So, in the introduction, first thing that you should be doing is defining the good governance. How far recent initiatives in terms of e governance, steps taken by the state, have helped the beneficiaries? Typical GS2 question, but still, it's okay. You can give it a touch of ethics. Discuss with suitable examples. Define good governance. What do you understand by the term good governance? The objectives of good governance. What are the objectives? To ensure accountability in governance, to maintain integrity of the public services, to ensure compliance with the process, to preserve the public confidence in the government processes, and to avoid the potential for misconduct, fraud, and corruption. These are some of the important objectives of good governance. What are the recent methods or recent initiatives by the government in order to promote e-governance or good governance? First one, MyGOE initiative, Darpan portal, National Center for Geoinformatics, National Scholarships portal, DigiLocker, National e-governance plan. These are some of the important steps taken by the government in order to promote e-governance. These are the issues that you should be writing in the answer. Fourth one, which deals with the digital divide, the ethics behind technology. Okay, online methodology is being used for day-to-day meetings, institutional approvals in the administration, and for teaching and learning in the education sector to the extent of telemedicine in health. Okay, it talks about the online technology is being used both in education and health. In this scenario, no doubt it has advantages and disadvantages. Okay, describe and discuss the ethical issues involved in the use of online method, particularly to vulnerable sections of the society. Okay, what are the ethical dilemmas or ethical issues involved in the delivery of online services to the vulnerable sections of the society? This is what the question is asking about. Recently, there was a issue of we can say NSO spyware. Okay, WhatsApp spyware. Okay, so which was an Israeli company which produced which manufactured or which came up with a product which can spy on the WhatsApp chats. This was one of the issue, and the second issue that was in news was of this, the boys locker case, where the young students had an Instagram group where they posted the content which was not very good for the development of students. So this is called as boys locker case, which was recently which became viral and which was in news. So because of such events, UPSC has asked a question on the ethical dilemmas or ethics behind the technology. So we all know that the digital technology or e-governance is a revolution, and it is being used for teaching and also telemedicine. At the same time, we also have cybercrime, cyberbullying, and cyber racism. It has impacted the vulnerable sections of the society, and the children, women, and the other vulnerable sections of the society, which are being as the victims of hate speech, okay, including the hate speech. These are the issues that you will have to write in this particular answer. Data privacy is being compromised. Digital divide is an important ethical dilemma. Okay, digital divide in the sense the male and female, because of the resource crunch, the access to the digital technology is more with respect to males than females, even in the urban and also in the rural areas. We can also have rural urban divide, where the penetration of technology is more in the urban areas and people are more equipped when compared to the rural area. Okay, these are some of the issues that we will have to write in the answer. Next question, current affairs question, Russia-Ukraine conflict, and what was the stand taken by India in this particular issue? Okay, this was something that was expected because Russia-Ukraine conflict was in news in the last 7.5 months. So it was expected that UPSC will ask the question in the GS2, but nobody expected that UPSC will ask the question in GS4. Russia and Ukraine war has been going on for the last 7 months. Different countries have taken independent stands and the actions keeping in view their own national interest. This becomes the keyword, national interest, because every foreign policy decision will be taken keeping national interest in mind. We all are aware that war has its own impact on the different aspects of the society. Very true, including human tragedy. What are those ethical issues and the crucial that are crucial to be considered while launching a war on its continuation so far? Illustrate with justification the ethical issues involved in the given state of affairs. Okay. First one, international morality. When we talk about international morality or international relations or foreign policy or diplomacy, it consists of some moral values like protection of the human life in peace, protection of the human life in war. How do you treat the prisoners of war? How do you carry out a war? Are you fighting a proxy war, or are you following all the rules that are to be followed in the combat? So all these are some of the moral principles that will be followed in the international affairs. Okay, ethical issues involved: harassment with war prisoners, rampant corruption, loss of human life, genocide, global hunger and poverty, terrorism. These are some of the ethical issues involved in the war. See, what happened was when Russia invaded Ukraine and Russia declared the Donbas region, that is Luhansk and Donetsk, as the independent sovereign states. This was said to be the external aggression on Ukraine because Ukraine was a democratic sovereign state and Russia is actually trying to have a socialistic influence on Ukraine. So this is why this led to the global hunger, and we also saw a lot of Indian students, medical students who were studying in Ukraine. They faced a lot of difficulty in returning back, and the anxiety that their parents went through was something that was very harsh during that particular time. So all these are some of the ethical issues that were involved in the war. Next question, 5b, write short notes on following in 30 words each. Okay, this kind of question was not a part of the ethics paper in the last 2 or 3 years. So this time we have such a question, and one bad thing about these questions is even though the question just asks for 30 words, it will take a heavy toll on your mind and you will end up spending a lot of time on these questions. First one is the constitutional morality. Constitutional morality. Some of the examples, I'll just be discussing some of the examples that you can quote. Example that you can quote here is about the hijab issue and also Shabarimala judgment. Okay, Shabarimala judgment. These are the important examples that you can quote for constitutional morality. Conflict of interest. The conflict of interest here describes of the professional and the personal conflict of interest. Okay, utilitarian principle, where the utilitarian principle talks about the greatest good for the largest number. So the conflict of interest related to the public life and the private life. Probity in public life, probity in governance and probity in public life is a exact keyword that we have in the ethics syllabus. Challenges of digitization. Okay, challenges of the digitization. Digital divide we have discussed, we have discussed rural urban divide. So all these are the issues that you will have to write here. Devotion to duty. Okay, devotion to duty, respect to the service delivery, integrity, honesty, truthfulness, accountability, integrity. These are some of the qualities that you will have to mention when you're writing about devotion to duty. Okay, next question. Whistleblower, very important one. Whistleblower who reports the corruption and the illegal activities, wrongdoing and misconduct to the concerned authorities runs the risk of being exposed to the grave danger, physical harm and victimization by the vested interests, accused persons and his team. What policy measures would you suggest to strengthen the protection mechanism to safeguard the whistleblower? Okay, very direct statement. You will have to define who is a whistleblower. Whistleblower is a person who is providing undisclosed information to expose wrongdoings and corruption. In a very simple terms, explain or define who is a whistleblower. As the emphasis on the transparency and accountability increases, acts of whistleblowing. Okay, emphasis on the transparency and the accountability as it increases, we have to emphasize on whistleblowing. And what are the policies to protect whistleblowers and what should be done? Protecting the privacy of the whistleblowers is something that is very important we have to do. Waiving the criminal liability of a whistleblower, lowering the burden of proof on the whistleblower because he has exposed the information. Incentivization of the whistleblower is something that India has to take care of both in public and also private law. In the contemporary world, corporate sector's contribution in generating wealth and employment is increasing. In doing so, they are bringing unprecedented onslaught on the climate, environmental sustainability, and living conditions of the human beings. In this background, see, this is the entire background. This is why I told you that the paper was lengthy. In order to read this statement and understand, comprehend, and form an answer, it would take a lot of time. CSR, that is corporate social responsibility. Do you think the CSR is efficient and sufficient enough to fulfill the social roles and responsibilities needed in the corporate work mandated? Critically examine. 150 words, that's a 10 marker. So here, as the question revolves around CSR, in the definition, in the introduction, we will have to define what CSR is. That is corporate social responsibility. What is it? Is CSR sufficient enough? Is it enough? So we will have to answer this particular question. CSR is a good mechanism and it generates revenue in order to carry out the activities that are very integral to the, or which are very needful for the society, which cannot be imposed externally. This should be an internal mechanism for an organization, and it becomes very wrong and it will not yield the desired results if it is imposed externally. Okay. Now we will have to move on to the case studies. We are continuing with the case studies. See, in the ethics paper of 2022, we have 6 case studies carrying 20 mark each. Okay, so these 6 case studies becomes really important because it is very difficult to score in the first part, that is section A. So most of your scoring would come from these 6 case studies. Okay, so this is the first case study that we are discussing, and I'll just give you a brief idea about the case studies, and I'll let you know what should be the way forward and what should be the answer format that we will be following. The first one, we have a person called Prabhat. He's working as a vice president in the marketing at a Sterling Electric Limited. Okay, and the sales are continuously showing a downward trend, and because of it there's a huge pressure on this particular person called Prabhat. Okay, and he is about to carry out a deal with the defense ministry, and if the deal happens, then the Prabhat is very happy, his company is also happy, and his bosses are also happy. He assured them that his division is working on a special contract with the defense ministry. What aggravated the situation further was a warning from the top that if the deal is not clinched in the favor of the company, his division might have to be closed and he may have to quit his lucrative job. He would lose his job. As he loses his job, his family will also be in trouble because his family is dependent on a person called Prabhat. When Prabhat is going through all these situations, here comes a person called as Subhash Verma, who was working as an associate in a rival company which was about to send the same tender to the defense ministry. And Subhash Verma wanted to see him as an interested person in the position of the manager, to which had to be filled by him in the company. So Subhash Verma, who was working as a consultant in the rival company, wants to apply for the post of a manager. Now it was Prabhat who is interviewing Subhash Verma. When the process of interview is on, then the Subhash Verma offers to hand over the documents of the employment in the company on a suitable terms and conditions, and he says, I will hand over the required and the classified documents of a different company, so that will help you to get the tender from the defense ministry. In this situation, Prabhat was absolutely stunned. Okay, Prabhat is facing the issue of ethical dilemma. What should be the options, and what are the options in front of Prabhat, and what should Prabhat do? That is the question that was asked. See, discuss the ethical issues involved in the case. Critically examine the options available to Prabhat in the above situation. Which of the above would be the most appropriate for Prabhat and why? Okay, so these are the 3 questions asked in the case study. This is something that you will have to address. What is the ethical dilemma? So ethical dilemma for Prabhat is, if he accepts the proposal of Subhash Verma to get the classified documents, then it is he is violating the principles of ethics. He is violating his integrity, honesty, truthfulness. All these ethical values are being violated. If he does not, if he stays honest, then his job is at stake. He might lose his job, and as he loses his job, his family can also face some critical problems. So this is the ethical dilemma, whether to choose the option 1 or to choose the option 2. Okay. Reflective conscience, integrity, work ethics. Option 1, what can he do? Hire Subhash and get the tender outbidding the rival company. What are the merits and the demerits if the option 1 is followed? What is option 2? Not to hire Subhash Verma and make plans for bidding on his own. What are the merits and the demerits of the option 2? Option 3, diligently make a plan for bidding and hire Subhash Verma but not take his papers. What are the merits of this? Demerits of this. Okay, this is how you will have to structure the case study. Here, the option with Subhash Verma or option with Prabhat is that Subhash Verma is anyhow offering the classified documents, but Prabhat, being a very ethical minded person, should not accept it if Subhash Verma is fit for the job of the manager. Then Prabhat can actually recruit him for the post of the manager, but not his classified documents. That would be a violation of ethical principle. Okay, this is about the first case study. Second case study, there's a person called Ramesh. He's a civil service officer and he got an opportunity after 20 long years of his service to serve at the border district. Okay, the border state. He's serving at a border state, and when he's serving at a border state, he gets to know that there is a lot of infiltration happening, and the infiltration along the border is a common phenomena that happens even in India. So there's an infiltration happening, and Ramesh prepares a detailed project report, okay, details case study on this particular infiltration, and he submits it to the additional home secretary, a superior officer. And what happens after this is the superior officer says that what you're doing is really wrong and you will have to take back the report that you have made. Okay, and this is what even the political masters want, because infiltration is being favorable to the politics, so you will have to withdraw it. So now what are the issues with the Ramesh? What are the options available to Ramesh as the director of the home department of the bordering state? What option should Ramesh adopt and why? Critically evaluate each of the options. Okay, 3 questions. The fourth question, what are the ethical dilemmas being faced by Ramesh? What policy measures would you suggest to combat the menace of infiltration of illegal migrants from the neighboring country? See, you have asked 5 questions and you will have to answer all these 5 questions in the chronology, okay, to get the maximum marks. As per the analysis of the case, the Ramesh has 2 options, either to succumb to the pressure of the superiors and withdraw the case study, or to carry out the case study, give it to the any nearby NGO or the media and get the public support, or appeal to the higher authority and explain them the disadvantages or the challenges that the state is facing because of the infiltration and threat of the national security. So all these are some of the options available with Prabhat. He should follow the code of conduct as per the All India Civil Services rules, confirm in writing, very important, the instructions from the additional home secretary to withdraw his confidential report on the illegal migrants and the infiltration. What is the second option before him? Could be to abide by the decision of the additional home secretary. Okay, just do what the superior is telling. These are the 2 options, and we will have to write down the merits and the demerits of all these options and what is something that is very much favorable for Ramesh. What are the ethical dilemmas faced by Ramesh? Okay, we have discussed these 2 issues or these 2 options. What will be the ethical dilemmas if Ramesh follows the option 1? What will be the ethical dilemma when he follows the option 2? Okay, you can go through this, and this is how you will have to structure your case study. The third one, Supreme Court has banned the mining activity in the Aravalli region. Supreme Court has banned, but still the stone mining is still prevalent. Okay, the stone mining is happening, but there's a young SP, young and a dynamic SP who has been posted, and young and energetic SP, he sees this stone mining, illegal mining that is happening, and he tries to resist it, but he's killed. Okay, he is killed. Now there is a journalist. There's a journalist called as Ashok who was he was an investigative journalist, and now he gets to know about this and he forms a case. Okay, he forms a case and he wants to portray this, or he wants to showcase this or broadcast this in his TV channel, as he is a journalist, and he presented it to the CMD of the TV channel. Okay, the head of the TV channel. And this head of the TV channel says the person who is conducting the mining is the local MLA, and this local MLA is very influential, and this local MLA has 20% stakes in the TV channel that you are working. If you go ahead and broadcast the information against this MLA, you will have to lose the job. Okay, if you go ahead and post it. And now, this is the ethical dilemma that the Ashok is going through. And the question asks, what are the options available to Ashok to cope up with this situation? Critically evaluate or examine each of the options identified by Ashok. What are the ethical dilemmas being faced by Ashok? Which of the options do you think would be the most appropriate for Ashok to adopt, and why? In the above scenario, what type of training would you suggest for the police officers posted to such districts where stone mining and illegal activities are rampant? Okay, this is the case study that is given. See here, Ashok has basically important, he has two options. First option is to withdraw the case report and stay safe. Okay, his job is guaranteed, his family members are happy, his CMD is happy, his company is happy, everybody are happy, but the justice is not done. The second option is to go ahead, broadcast this, face the consequences, and if he broadcasts, he is doing justice. At the same time, his life is at stake, his family is insecure. Okay, so he will have to face a lot of consequences because he is a local MLA who is very powerful. Okay, these are the two options. We'll have to write the merits and the demerits of these options. But and what to do? What should the Ashok do in this situation? See, any given point of time, in order to succumb to the pressure and withdraw the case report is not an option. Whereas Ashok should broadcast the report, but before broadcasting, he should make sure that he is informing the police, he is taking DM into account. At the same time, he is also considering the local NGOs who are working against the stone illegal mining. At the same time, very important, he should get media because he is a journalist. Before he exposing the local MLA, all these things has to be done so that the local MLA has some deterrence in acting against the Ashok, who is a journalist. This will be the way forward. Fourth one, you have done MBA from a reputed institution, okay, and but still you were jobless for 3 years because of the COVID-19. Finally, you have a job at the shoe manufacturing company, okay, and now your job role is clearing the final product. You have to give the clearance, okay, and your team is responsible for it. And now the business is expanding, and the business is expanding to the Europe and the Gulf countries. But what happens, the consignment that you have given the clearance was rejected by the European country, stating that the quality of the product is very poor. Okay, glaring poor quality of the product, the shoe was returned back. So in the scenario, the bosses, like the people, the hierarchy, higher levels in the same company say that, see, this was an export quality and it got rejected. Now what will we do? The company can't take the burden of loss. So the same poor quality product should be flooded to the local market. That is, it should be manufactured or should be sold in India. The team commander that such consignment, if cleared, even for the domestic market, will tarnish the image and the reputation of the company. You say that even if we do it in the local market, this will cause a damage to our reputation. Okay, but still the hierarchy insists that you go ahead and give the clearance. If you don't give the clearance, then the company will take harsh actions on you. So in the situation, under the given situation, what are the options available to you as a member of the inspecting team? Critically evaluate each of the options listed by you. What options do you adopt and why? What are the ethical dilemmas being faced by you? What can be the consequences of overlooking the observations raised by the inspecting team? Okay, here there are again two options. The first option is to succumb to the pressure and give clearance to the consignment. What happens after this? After the clearance is done, after the clearance is given, the product is sold in the local market and the reputation is lost, because of which there is a threat of company losing its business. And if the company loses business and if company faces the loss, and even the job is a threat. To Second is to go ahead, do not give the clearance, okay, resist the clearance certificate, and by doing this, you will attract the hatred of the superior officers. In this scenario, the option is not to give consent. At the same time, when you're not giving consent, give proper explanation, prepare a report, give proper explanation to the superior officers. Try to convince them that if this is done, all our jobs are at stake, the reputation of the organization or a company is at stake. Okay, this will be the go forward for you when you are facing such an ethical dilemma. Fifth case study. Rakesh was working as a joint commissioner in the transport department. Okay, he's working as a joint commissioner in the transport department, and his role is to make sure that the transport department goes in a very smooth way. But what happened? There was a case where drivers went on strike. Why did the drivers go on strike? What happened was there was one person was a driver who met with an accident, and when he met with an accident when a car and the bus met with an accident, the bus driver and the car driver clashed, and in this clash both of them got wounded, and here the bus driver expired, but the car driver managed to survive. So in this event, this was a very a black mark on the transport department. So the family of the bus driver, where the bus driver was the only sole winner of the bread for the family, and now the family of the bus driver is facing a lot of economic problems because they don't have a person who is earning. So in this scenario, the drivers union have come and these people are having a strike. So you being a joint commissioner, what will be your role in order to solve this particular issue? Okay, this is the case study. What are the options available to Rakesh to meet the above situation? Critically examine each of the options identified by Rakesh. What are the ethical dilemmas being faced by Rakesh? What course of action would Rakesh adopt to diffuse the above situation? Okay, two options. Rakesh can easily keep quiet. If the drivers are protesting, let them protest. How long do they protest? Even these people have families. They can't protest more than 1.5 or 2 months. So after that, people would go back. So Rakesh is not showing his empathy, his compassion, his sympathy here in the first option. Second option, what he can do is he can see this is in order to do justice, he can guarantee a fair amount of compensation to the family of the driver, and also make sure that if at all there is any qualified person in the family of this particular driver who is dead, make sure that that particular individual gets a compensatory job, okay, as a compensation, so that the family of the driver is happy. So this is something that Rakesh has to do. And what is the merit and the demerit of these two options is what you have to write in the answer. What course of action would the Rakesh adopt to diffuse the above situation? This is something that we have discussed. And the last case study is that you are appointed as an officer heading the section of the Environment Pollution Control Board. Okay, head of the Environmental Pollution Control Board, and a large number of small and medium industries are present in that particular area. And all these large and small and medium industries, they have the environmental clearances. They've got the environmental clearances before you have arrived. Okay, how have they got? Did they bribe or was there any corruption? We don't have to get into that detail. It is just that they have the environmental clearances. But you, as the head of the pollution control board, now you know that even though these industries have the environmental clearance, but still these people are polluting. These industries are polluting. Now, what do? You ask all the industries who are violating the environmental complaints, you ask them to get a fresh environmental clearance. Okay, if you don't get the fresh environmental clearance, then your industry would be closed. That is what you will have the notification. In this scenario, the owners of these industries would come over and they would say that there will be a huge financial loss and the shortage of their products in the market if it is closed down. Our employees will face problems, our employers the people who have invested, the owners will also face the problems. Please take back this notification. This is what people come to you and people would ask. Even the labor union, when the labor union comes with a request that if you close down the industries, then we all will become unemployed, then it will be a very grave situation for our family. At the same time, you also simultaneously start receiving threats from the unknown corners. Okay, you however received the support from some of your colleagues. So this is a situation. In this situation, what are the options? First option is very simple, and first option is something that doesn't have any threat. Like just comply to the requests and the succumb to the threats that are given. Make sure that you don't carry out any harsh action. Second option is something that you go ahead, even for a short term, if the labor union and the employers are angry, in the long term, this is something that will guarantee sustainable development, and this is something that will guarantee the profits for this particular industry. Okay, what are the options available to you under the given situation? Critically examine the options listed by you. What type of mechanism would you suggest ensuring the environmental compliance? What are the ethical dilemmas you faced in exercising your option? Okay, these are the four questions that we will have to answer in this particular case study. Okay, this is with respect to ethics paper of 2022. For more such videos on the Legacy IAS YouTube channel, you have the videos, the analysis of GS1, GS2 and GS3, and also we have a video on the essay also. So make sure you check out all these videos. If you have liked the videos, don't forget to share amongst your friends and subscribe. Have a nice day. Thank you.